Japanese doctor, if you're over 60, don't eat these 5 foods for breakfast. For decades, a Japanese doctor noticed something nobody else did: patients with the same symptoms, the same routine, and a morning habit that seemed harmless but was quietly sabotaging the health of millions of elderly people. He connected the dots, and what he discovered could transform the way we start the day and how we age. What your body feels in the first hours of the morning can be a cry for health, a soaring at vitality, and what you put on your plate can decide which path you follow. Are you ready to see breakfast with new eyes? Then welcome to another episode of Heal Essence, where you will discover the 5 foods you should never eat for breakfast. Dr. Haruki Tanaka, is a huge pleasure to have you with us today. Your name has been circulating a lot after that impactful interview in Tokyo, where you revealed an observation you made over decades treating elderly patients. What exactly did you discover that caused such a stir? Thank you very much for the invitation. What I shared was an insight that matured over more than 30 years of geriatric practice. I realized that many of my patients over 60, despite taking medications and doing exams, continued to have chronic symptoms such as morning fatigue, joint pain, mental confusion, and swelling, all with one thing in common: breakfast.
Wow, that changes everything. Because we grow up hearing that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But what exactly did you start noticing?
Was it something about what they ate?
Exactly. I started making a sort of food map with my patients, and I saw a pattern. Most started their day with foods that seemed harmless, even healthy: white bread, margarine, coffee with milk, box juice, processed cereals. But these foods were in fact directly contributing to the symptoms they reported. So you're saying that, even though it seems like a normal routine, breakfast might be sabotaging these people's health? Yes, exactly that. The body of a person over 60 has a slower metabolism, increased sensitivity to sugar spikes, and less tolerance for inflammatory foods. What you eat in the first hours of the day determines the metabolic and inflammatory rhythm of the body for the next 12 hours. That's shocking. And when you started testing changes to this traditional breakfast, did results appear? Yes. When we started adjusting the foods, removing refined processed foods and replacing them with more functional options, many patients reported improvements in mood, less pain, more energy, and even regulation of blood pressure within a few days. It was like the body was thanking them for a lighter morning. It's amazing to think that just breakfast can cause all of that. And do you believe that most doctors are missing this? Unfortunately, yes. Traditional medical training does not emphasize morning nutrition much, especially in old age. There is a culture of normalizing certain symptoms as part of aging, when in fact they are often a reflection of poor food choices right after waking up. And based on this observation, did you start studying more deeply the effects of morning eating?
Yes.
I began investigating studies on chronic nutrition, late metabolism, and eating habits of long-lived populations, such as in Okinawa. The connection between what is eaten in the morning and longevity became evident, and the pattern I saw among my patients repeated in many places worldwide. Now it makes sense why you call it a shocking discovery, because it changes the whole paradigm. It's not just about what you eat throughout the day, but how you start the day. Exactly. The fasting body is more vulnerable and receptive. If at this moment you offer foods that overload the liver, inflame the gut, or deregulate glucose, you are programming the body to respond poorly throughout the entire day. It's like starting a car with the wrong oil. That car image is really good. It helps understand the impact, but you also talk about a specific pattern in elderly Japanese, right? Those who have more vitality, even at an advanced age? Yes. There is a cultural care and ancestral wisdom in Japan about starting the day with lightness and intention. It is common to start the morning with green tea, small portions of brown rice, cooked vegetables, or even miso. The focus is not on just killing hunger, but preparing the body for the day. Dr. Haruki, just this introduction already shakes our heads, and I imagine the next chapters of this conversation will open even more eyes of those listening. Certainly, we will speak clearly about what is silently making many people sick right in the morning and show simple, practical, and effective ways to reverse it. Dr. Haruki, now tell me something that hasn't left my mind since the beginning of our conversation. Why, specifically after 60, does breakfast become so dangerous? What changes so much at this stage of life? That's a great question. At 60 years old, the body enters a new phase of functioning. The basal metabolic rate decreases, meaning the body burns fewer calories at rest. Hormones also drop, like insulin, melatonin, testosterone, and estrogen, which directly affects how foods are processed first thing in the morning. So it's like the body becomes more sensitive to certain food stimuli, especially when fasting just waking up. Exactly. The fasting body is in a state of greater receptivity. It will absorb more intensely whatever is offered. If the first food is a sugar or bad fat spike, the response will be inflammatory, with increased insulin release, liver stress, and direct impact on energy and mood during the day. It's like starting the day with an internal alarm in the body, without us noticing. Yes, and this silent alarm repeats every day. Imagine that for years glucose rises, the liver stores fat, the gut becomes inflamed, and blood vessels constrict, and people think they are just getting old, when in fact, they are eating poorly right after waking up. Now I understand why you say breakfast can be the #1 villain. It determines how the body will function in the coming hours. But why do we still hear that it is the most important meal of the day? Because this idea came from a time when the population was younger, more physically active, and had different habits. Today, with sedentary lifestyles, excess processed foods, and an aging population, the importance is not in eating a lot in the morning, but in eating right. And when people don't eat right in the morning, where the most immediate symptoms you usually see in your patients: fatigue between 9 and 11 a.m., irritability, craving sweets right after, fluctuating blood pressure, abdominal bloating, gas, mental confusion, sleepiness. All this is a direct reflection of a poorly planned first meal, especially after 60. So what many consider normal aging, like being more tired or having weak memory, may just be liberating, because it shows that changing breakfast can be the first strategy to reverse those symptoms. The good news is that results appear quickly when adjustments are made wisely. So the big shift here is to understand it's not about quality but quality. That's right. After 60, less is more. As long as it's the right food, the ideal is to choose combinations that sustain, cleanse the liver, favor gut flora, and stabilize blood sugar. Then breakfast becomes an ally. And are these changes you suggest hard to apply daily, or can anyone adapt? They are simple. It's not about complicated recipes, but about eliminating what inflames and including what nourishes. Teas, seeds, low glycemic fruits, eggs, roots, all accessible, tasty, transformative when included consistently. So basically, it's an invitation to awareness. Wake up and choose to start well, and not fall into convenience traps that end up costing a high price. Exactly. Breakfast can be your greatest medicine or your worst poison. And after 60, this choice weighs even more. Dr. Horty, now I want to go straight to 5 forward cent. There is a habit very common that you say is making millions sick early in the day. What habit is that? It is the habit of consuming foods with a high glycemic index and low nutritional value in the first 2 hours after waking up. Most people do not even notice because they grew up seeing this as normal, but we are talking about white bread, box juice, margarine, processed cereals, and coffee with sugar. Wow, that's basically the original Brazilian breakfast, right? It seems so harmless, but why exactly is it so harmful? Because it generates a silent inflammatory cascade. When you mix sugar, white flour, and bad fat in the morning, you cause glucose spikes and an inflammatory response in the body. This overloads the pancreas, liver, and destabilizes the brain right in the first hours of the day. And then comes that mid-morning tiredness, irritability, desire to eat again. Is all of this connected? Yes. Glucose rises rapidly, but also falls very fast. And that causes reactive hypoglycemia, the famous rebound effect. The person feels like they need more energy, and reaches for what? Another coffee, another sweet, more bread. It's a vicious cycle that starts early. Can we say then that this seemingly harmless habit is feeding metabolic diseases, silently? Perfectly put, it is a daily silent trigger for type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, abdominal obesity, and even neurodegenerative diseases. And the worst part is that many elderly keep this pattern for decades without noticing. And have you seen patients change change radically just by adjusting this habit? Yes. One example that touched me was a 72-year-old lady. She had high blood pressure, knee pain, constipation, and was always tired. We changed only breakfast. In 3 weeks, she was walking with more energy and sleeping better. It wasn't a miracle, it was biochemistry adjusted. Amazing. So what seems simple can be the turning point for a longer and better life. Without a doubt, and I'd say it's precisely because it's simple that many people underestimate it. But true change starts with daily choices, and the first of those is when you open your eyes.
What are you going to put in your body to start the day? It's almost a spiritual decision too, right? Taking care of yourself first thing in the morning.
Thinking of the body as a temple that deserves to start the day well. Exactly. Eastern wisdom speaks a lot about this. The start of the day defines the spirit, and food is energy. It's information. If you feed badly, the body suffers. If you feed well, it flourishes. Dr. Haruki. Let's go deeper. What exactly changes in the body of a person after 60 that makes them more vulnerable to certain foods? After 60, the body undergoes deep changes. Digestion slows down. There is muscle mass loss. Production of digestive enzymes decreases, and intestinal permeability increases. All this makes the body more sensitive to what it consumes, especially first thing in the morning. In other words, foods that the body once tolerated now become a more serious problem. Exactly. A 30-year-old might handle coffee with milk and French bread, but a 65-year-old, with fewer enzymes, leaky or gut, and less liver detox capacity, will suffer more. The body is already in defense mode, and any extra aggression turns into inflammation. And the gut, which you always mention, plays a key role here, right? Yes. The gut is the first line of contact with food. If it is inflamed, it starts to generate signals such as gas, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, and that is not normal aging. Often it is a response to foods it can no longer handle, like gluten, lactose, artificial sweetness, or refined flours. And the liver, which cleans everything, also becomes more overloaded after 60. Yes, the liver loses some regenerative and filtering capacity, so if breakfast arrives full of toxins, it can't handle it. This results in fatty liver, energy drop, mood changes, and even difficulty losing weight. And there is also the hormonal impact, right? That greater tiredness, difficulty concentrating. Can all this be related?
What is eaten in the morning?
Totally. Foods directly influence the production of serotonin, dopamine, insulin, and cortisol. If you start the day with sugar and trans fats, you are sending a signal of disorder to the brain. This affects mood, memory, and disposition. Wow, it's like a domino game. One wrong food knocks everything down. Exactly. The body functions as an interconnected system. After 60, it no longer has much adaptive reserve. What was tolerable before now becomes a problem. That's why food needs to be even more strategic, and this explains why so many elderly people are recurring symptoms even without precise diagnoses. Yes, because many doctors treat symptoms with medication but don't look at the foundation, what this person is eating every day, especially right after waking up. That is the missing key in many treatments. So, the big turning point is understanding that the body needs more care and smarter food choices, especially in the morning. Perfect. And with this understanding, anyone can recover vitality, mental clarity, good digestion, and emotional balance. Starting with the right breakfast. Dr. Haruki, one of the most fascinating things about Japanese culture is longevity, and many attribute it to lifestyle and diet. But what exactly is special about the breakfast of a long discipline of Japanese? The base is lightness and therapeutic function. Japanese people who live longer, especially those from Okinawa, don't treat breakfast as a meal to fill the stomach, but as a ritual to activate the body with balance. They choose foods that nourish and do not harm. And what usually makes up this traditional breakfast? Is it very different from what we are used to in the West? Very different. A typical breakfast includes green tea, a small portion of brown rice, miso, cooked vegetables, natto, fermented soy, and light fish like salmon. There are no breads, sugar, or milk. Each item has a specific function in the body, including reducing inflammation and improving digestion. Interesting. It even seems like a little functional breakfast, and green tea has a special role in this context. Yes, green tea is antioxidant, helps digestion, protects the liver, and improves brain function. Starting the day with it instead of coffee with milk completely changes metabolism and more. It brings mental clarity, calmness, and focus. 3 pillars of aging well, and there is also a cultural aspect, right? This thing about eating slowly in silence with presence. Does that affect digestion? Definitely. How we eat is as important as what we eat. Eating quickly, standing, looking at the phone, already activates a stress state in the body, harming the production of digestive enzymes. The Japanese value mindfulness during meals, and this protects the digestive system. It's curious how everything is connected. It's not just a matter of menu, but mindset. And does this reflect on health? Yes. Studies show that elderly Japanese have lower rates of in the morning, not with excess food, but with conscious choices that prepare the body for the day. So when you say therapeutic breakfast, are you referring to this care with healing foods? Exactly. Foods that reduce inflammation, balance blood sugar, protect the liver, and nourish the brain. That is therapeutic. And it is possible to adapt this logic in Brazil with accessible foods and simple strategies. We'll talk about that soon. Now I even feel like trying this Japanese model. I think many people would feel different right in the first days, right? Yes, in a few days, patients report more energy, less gas, better sleep, and more focus. The body responds quickly when you remove what intoxicates and offer what regenerates. And this starts with breakfast, and we don't even need to follow everything exactly, right? The important thing is the spirit. Lightness, functionality, presence, perfect. Just understand the principle and adapt it to your reality. Ginger tea with lemon, a boiled egg, a slice of avocado with cheer are already a good start. The secret is to remove what inflames and include what nourishes. So the Japanese secret isn't in an exotic superfood, but in the consistency of small daily gestures. Exactly. And this is accessible to anyone. What is often missing is information. When we understand the impact of morning food, the desire to change comes naturally. Dr. Haruki, now I want to talk to those listening who often feel a weight after breakfast, that feeling of bloating, tiredness, or even sudden sadness. Could this be coming from food? Definitely. These signs are the body expressing itself against something that is not working. Well, bloating, for example, is a warning of poor digestion or food intolerance. Weakness and discouragement may be related to glycemic spikes followed by sharp drops. And all of this starts with the first meal. So instead of energizing USS, breakfast is knocking many people down. Exactly. And the most alarming thing is that this has come normal for many people. They think it's part of aging, when in fact, it is a physiological response to wrong foods. The body is crying for help, and we are not listening. And can these morning symptoms be the first signs of bigger diseases that have not appeared yet? Yes, frequent bloating, sleepiness after eating, morning irritability. All these are clues of metabolic imbalance, intestinal inflammation, food intolerances, or even the beginning of insulin resistance. It's as if the body is lighting red warning lights on the dashboard. And many end up resorting to coffee or more food, thinking they are solving the problem, when in fact, they are deepening it. Correct. Coffee, especially with sugar or sweetener, worsens the condition. It masks tiredness, but doesn't solve the cause. It's like taking an energy drink for a car with a dirty tank. The ideal would be to stop, clean, and refuel with the right fuel. And how do you guide patients to realize they are having a food reaction and not just a bad day? I ask them to observe how they feel 30 to 60 minutes after eating. If symptoms such as gas, bloating, sleepiness, mood drop, or desire to eat again appear, something is wrong. The ideal breakfast should generate lightness, focus, and satiety for at least 3 hours. It's almost like keeping a body diary, right? Paying attention to signs and adjusting with awareness. Exactly, the body speaks. Most just need to relearn how to listen. When you swap what inflames for foods that nourish, the response comes in a few days. And it's always positive. So if you feel bloated, discouraged, or weak early in the day, maybe you don't need more medicine. But another type of breakfast. That's the summary. Start by observing. Then make small changes. A digestive tea instead of coffee, removing white bread for a few days, including a light fruit with seed. The body will show if you are on the right path. Dr. Horiki, now let's talk about something that confuses a lot of people. Mistakes that look like wins. Many believe they are doing everything right in the morning, but in practice, they are making their body sick. What are the most common mistakes? Unfortunately, many foods promoted as healthy are actually inflammatory bombs. Flavored yogurts, boxed juices, bread with margarine, processed cereals, all sold with a health pitch, but bring hidden sugars, bad fats, and chemical additives. Psst. And the worst part is that it becomes a habit, right? People start the day with these choices, thinking they are doing the best for themselves. Yes, and that's exactly why the damage accumulates. When someone starts the day with a glass of 100% fruit juice, they are ingesting a huge load of liquid fructose without the fibers that the whole fruit would bring. This overloads the liver and deregulates blood sugar. And what about the light strawberry yogurt, for example? Is it a disguised villain? Definitely. It contains colorants, artificial sweetness, thickeners, and hidden amounts of sugar. Also, most are low in protein and fiber, meaning they don't satisfy and can still cause insulin spikes and early hunger. In the Save Vitamin Fortified, those are among the worst. They are rich in sugar, refined flours, and vegetable oil. Vitamin fortification doesn't compensate for the damage caused by glycemic load and the inflammation it triggers. They are highly processed products, not real food. So even people try to take care of themselves might be sabotaging their health without knowing. Exactly. Good intentions are not enough when the inflammation is wrong. That's why we need to talk more about label reading, ingredients, and the metabolic impact of foods, especially in old age. And there are those who think eating little in the morning is enough, like just a coffee and toast. Is that problematic too? Yes, because it's not about quantity but quality. A light meal poorly composed can inflame and not sustain. A white flour toast with margarine is worse than a small plate with egg and avocado. We need to think about nutritional density. So what seems healthy needs to be questioned, including deeply rooted habits like our daily bread. Certainly, white bread, for example, has become a symbol of breakfast, but is poor in
nutrients and rich in fast-absorbing starch. It raises blood sugar and can cause early inflammatory spikes. It's time to review these cultural habits.
And these mistakes are even worse after 60, right? Yes, because the body is already more sensitive, metabolism slower, and the digestive system less efficient. What was once just a slip now becomes a daily aggression the body can't easily compensate for. So the mission here is to raise awareness and show that it is indeed possible to change without extremism but with wisdom. Perfect.
And the first step is identifying these false healthy foods. When we recognize the disguised saboteurs, we make room to include foods that truly nourish and heal. Dr.
Haruki, now let's get to what everyone wants to know, how to practically put together a functional breakfast for those over 60. What can be missing? A functional breakfast must meet 3 principles: digestibility, low glycemic index, and anti-inflammatory capacity. For that, it's essential to include fibers like proteins and natural antioxidants. And most importantly, avoid ultra-processed foods and glucose spikes. So I can already imagine that the base of this breakfast is far from white bread, with margarine and sweetened coffee, right? Exactly. The idea is to replace white bread with roots like sweet potato or yam, swap margarine for avocado with olive oil, and sugar coffee for a digestive tea or tea. At most, pure and mild coffee without milk or sweetener, and protein. Is it important at the time of day? Yes. After 60, muscle loss accelerates and protein is essential. A boiled egg, grilled tofu, or some full-fat natural yogurt without sugar are good options. They help stabilize blood sugar and provide satiety for longer. And fruits, can we include them? Or should we be careful with their sugar? Fruits are welcome, but with moderation and smart choice. Prioritize low glycemic fruits like apple, pear, strawberry, blueberry, and plum, always with some fiber alongside, like chia or flax seeds, to slow down sugar absorption. Any quick prep tips for people always in a rush? Yes, a simple recipe: a spoon of soaked chia, some unsweetened plant milk, chopped strawberries, and a pinch of cinnamon. Leave it in the fridge overnight, and in the morning it's ready. Nutritious, anti-inflammatory, and practical. I like that idea. and you recommend a lot of variety, or maintaining some constancy. The ideal is to vary the ingredients, but keep the principle: lightness, functionality, and balance. Consistency should be in quality, not necessarily the menu. The body thanks when it receives a variety of nutrients without overload, so a good breakfast for those over 60 can be light, tasty, and still full of therapeutic benefits. Certainly, the idea is to start the day so that the body feels cared for, not attacked. This changes mood, digestion, immunity, and even energy levels. Eating with intention is a form of daily medicine, Dr. Fuerco. Something that caught my attention in your studies was the ritual of medicinal teas while fasting. Japanese seem to avoid traditional coffee with milk first thing. Why? What's special about this habit? The practice of tea while fasting has military roots in Japan, starting the day with a light tea, like green tea, ginger, mint, or turmeric, helps gently activate metabolism, stimulate the liver, hydrate the body, and prepare the digestive system for the first meal. Coffee with milk, on the other hand, can cause the opposite effect. And what would be the negative effect of coffee with milk? First, the combination of caffeine with milk protein can irritate the gut, especially in older people with mild lactose or casein intolerance. Additionally, this mix interferes with the absorption of minerals like iron and magnesium and can cause stomach acidity, and there's also sugar or sweetener that worsens the condition. So the body starts the day fighting a heavy mix instead of receiving something that supports its function. Exactly. Many don't notice but feel reflux, gas, headaches, or desire to eat soon after. All this can be related to coffee with milk right after waking up. Tea, besides hydrating, has antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and calming effects, and teas have different functions. Some energize, others calm, others cleanse. How to know which to choose? Perfect. Green tea, for example, improves cognition and aids fat burning. Ginger stimulates digestion and warms the body. Mint reduces gas and calms the gut. Turmeric has anti-inflammatory and liver-supportive action. The ideal is to vary according to the day's needs, so a good start would be to replace coffee with milk with one of these teas while fasting. Yes, a glass of warm water with lemon or a light tea while fasting already changes the metabolic scenario. The body wakes up more gently without aggression. Later, if desired, pure coffee can be taken after the first meal and without sugar. And for those who miss milk in their coffee, is there a less harmful alternative? You can use unsweetened plant milks, like almond or coconut milk, but even then, the ideal is not to start the day with them. Leave that for later. Fasting with tea or lemon water has medicinal effects that lost when early ingestion of fat and animal protein happens. It's almost like the body needs a gentle good morning, not a punch of caffeine, milk, and sugar. That image is perfect. The body wakes up lighter when respected, and teas fulfill this role masterfully. They are simple, accessible, and deeply therapeutic. And this is something anyone can do, right? It doesn't require big changes or high costs. Exactly, just a handful of leaves or a root in hot water. You can prepare it the night before, let it infuse, and drink it upon waking. A small ritual, but one that produces great effects over days and years. Dr. Verocchi, now I want to go straight to the point. What would be, in your view, the 3 most powerful foods for a healthy breakfast, especially after I always like to start with the boiled egg? It's a complete food, rich in high biological value proteins, B vitamins, choline, which is essential for the brain and provides satiety without raising glucose. It's practical, versatile, and very nutritious.
Eggs had a bad reputation once, right? People said they raised cholesterol. Does that still hold? Not anymore.
Today, we know that dietary cholesterol has little impact on blood cholesterol. The problem lies in inflammatory foods, not eggs. In elderly people, eggs help maintain muscle mass and proper nervous system function. Excellent. In the second food on your list, low glycemic fruits like apple, pear, strawberry, plum, kiwi, they bring fiber, antioxidants, and bioactive compounds that regulate blood sugar and combat cellular aging. When combined with seeds, they form a highly therapeutic breakfast. And here comes the third category you always mention, seeds. Exactly. Seeds like flaxseed and pumpkin are rich in soluble fibers, anti-inflammatory, fatty acids, minerals, and plant proteins. They help regulate the gut, stabilize blood sugar, and protect the heart, and how to include these seeds in the routine without complicating things too much. You can mix a tablespoon into fruit, plain unsweetened yogurt, or make a cheer pudding with plant milk. Another option is to grind them and add to oatmeal porridge. The important thing is to keep consistency. They act in the body every day. So these three elements: egg, good fruit, and seeds we already have. Powerful breakfast base, without a doubt, and you can vary within these categories. One day it's egg with pear and cheer. Another day it's strawberry with flat seed and a bit of plain yogurt. It's functional, tasty, light, and promotes a productive morning full of vitality. Dr. Horuki, we've reached an important moment. Many people have listened so far and wonder, okay, but what do I put instead of what I've always eaten? Can we talk about practical substitutions that turn breakfast into a true medicine? Of course, the idea here is simple. Remove what flames and add what nourishes. For example, instead of white bread with margarine, try a slice of roasted sweet potato with olive oil and avocado with lemon. It's tasty, filling, and nourishes without causing inflammation. And what about the famous sweetened coffee with milk? Start with herbal tea while fasting. If you want coffee, have it after your meal, without milk or sugar. You can add a pinch of cinnamon or even coconut oil if you want more energy. This reduces the inflammatory response and protects the gut. In orange juice, it's a classic in many homes. The ideal is to replace it with the whole fruit, which contains fiber and reduces the glucose spike, or prepare flavored water with mint and lemon, or even its natural iced tea. The important thing is to avoid concentrated liquid fruit toast, which overloads the liver. What about those used to breakfast cereals? Is there a healthy version? Yes, you can make your own mix: rolled oats, cheer, flaxseed, unsweetened dried fruits, and nuts. Add plant milk or full-fat natural yogurt. That is a functional cereal, rich in fiber, good fats, and natural antioxidants. And if someone doesn't have much time in the morning, what do you recommend as a quick and effective substitute? Prepare it the night before. Cheer pudding with almond milk, fruits, and cinnamon, or cook eggs in advance and have them ready in the fridge. The secret is planning. When you have healthy options ready, you won't resort to what's convenient but harmful. So with small swaps, you can turn an ordinary breakfast into a true daily treatment without a doubt. And the impact is cumulative: better digestion, mood, energy, immunity. Over months, these effects add up, resulting in much more robust and balanced health. Dr. Horuki, now we're in the final stretch of our conversation. Let's talk about the 5 worst breakfast foods after 60. The first on the list is white bread, including its toast versions.
Why is this food so harmful? White bread is made from refined wheat flour, which is highly glycemic and poor in fiber. This means that when ingested, it quickly turns into blood sugar, causing a
glucose spike followed by a sharp drop. This deregulates metabolism, increases appetite, and favors fat accumulation, especially in the liver. Unfortunately, no, toasting only reduces the bread's moisture, but doesn't change its composition. The refined flour remains rapidly absorbed, with no significant nutrients and high inflammatory potential. Often toasting creates compounds called acrylamides, which are also harmful. So even that light toast many elderly people love to be harming the body. Exactly. And often it's consumed with margarine or cream cheese, which makes the combination even more harmful. Starting the day with a food that quickly raises blood sugar and doesn't provide
Well, nutrients is a recipe for metabolic imbalance. There's another problem. This type of bread is addictive.
We eat it and soon we're more. Why? Because it quickly activates the brain's reward center due to the glucose spike. Also, it doesn't keep you full for long, so the person feels hungry soon after and enters a cycle of eating more, unaware that they are cellularly malnourished. What about people who say, "I only eat a little"? Does that solve the problem? Not always. The problem lies in frequency and the body's vulnerability. After 60, the ability to compensate for damages caused by small daily excesses decreases, so even a little every day has a cumulative negative effect. So the ideal is to eliminate this type of bread and seek more functional alternatives. Yes, breads made with real whole flours like chickpea flour, seeds, or even natural fermentation breads with few ingredients are better options, but still, in moderation, always combined with good proteins and fats. Are there even simpler substitutions for those just aren't it changed? Yes. For example, swap bread for a slice of roasted sweet potato or tapioca with chia, or even oatmeal porridge with cinnamon. These options don't cause the same glycemic impact and provide fiber and nutrients. Dr. Horiki, let's move to the vegetable creams. They seem so harmless, so present daily, but you say they're highly harmful. Why? These products are rich in trans fats and refined vegetable oils like soybean, corn, and canola oils. Trans fats are proven to be inflammatory, increased bad cholesterol, LDL, reduced good cholesterol, HDL, and are associated with higher risk of cardiovascular diseases like heart attacks and strokes. Even the light or trans fat-free versions are dangerous. Yes, because often the zero label is allowed by law if the amount per serving is under 0.2 g, but since people consume more than one serving, the real intake is higher. Also, the manufacturing process involves hydrogenation, which alters the fat structure, making it toxic. And cream cheese? Many believe it's more natural because it contains milk. Industrialized cream cheese is rich in emulsifiers, thickeners, preservatives, and salt. The actual milk content is minimal. Also, it's an ultra-processed product with low nutritional value and inflammatory potential, especially for people sensitive to dairy. What exactly do these fats do to the body of an elderly person? They inflame arteries, hinder blood circulation, overload the liver, and impair cholesterol metabolism. In elderly people, this may show as high blood pressure, chronic fatigue, weak memory, and increased risk of thrombosis. It's scary to think something so common can have such a deep impact. Yes, and the most alarming thing is that these products are socially accepted as healthy sides, especially among the elderly. But in practice, they are pro-inflammatory substances disguised as food. So do you recommend cutting these products out completely? Yes. Especially for those over 60, there are much better alternatives. Avocado, cheese with lemon, chickpea hummus, homemade pâtés with olive oil, or even a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil with herbs. Simple, tasty, and truly functional. Dr. Horiki. Now the third food on the list, industrialized juices, including those claiming to be 100% natural. They are still part of many elderly breakfasts, but you warn they're dangerous. Why? Because even 100% fruit juices contain a very high load of liquid fructose without the natural fiber of the whole fruit. This fructose, when consumed in excess and liquid form, is quickly absorbed by
Liver, where it turns into fat. This can lead to fatty liver and insulin resistance. What about juices labeled no added sugar? Many trust them. Even without added sugar, the natural fructose is enough to cause imbalance. The problem isn't just visible sugar, but the metabolic effect. Also, many of these juices undergo heat processing that reduces vitamins and adds preservatives. So even freshly squeezed orange juice can be bad? Yes, especially if consumed fasting and in large quantities. A glass of orange juice can contain the sugar of 3 to 5 oranges, with the fiber that regulate absorption. This is a fructose bomb for the liver, especially in people over 60. What can this overload deliver? Trigger insulin spikes and favor visceral fat accumulation. Also, these morning sugar spikes affect mood, energy, and increase carb cravings throughout the day. So what's a better alternative for those who like to start their day with something liquid? Water with lemon, natural iced tea, infusions with mint or lemongrass. If you want something more nutritious, a light smoothie with avocado, seeds, and low fructose fruits, like blueberries or plums, is an excellent and functional choice. Can these swaps be made without losing the pleasure of eating and drinking in morning? Definitely. You just have to adjust your palate, which is addicted to intense sweetness. Over time, people start to appreciate natural flavors and feel the benefits in their bodies. It's a re-education, not a restriction. Dr. Horiki, we've reached the fourth villain on our list. This one will surprise many, the traditional coffee with milk, especially when sweetened. It's almost a cultural institution. Why is this combination so bad, especially after 60? Because it combines 3 very problematic factors for the elderly metabolism: caffeine while fasting, milk, lactose, and sugars or sweetness. Together, these cause intestinal irritation,
glucose and insulin spikes, silent inflammation, and even confusion in the absorption of essential nutrients.
What happens specifically with milk in this context?
Cow's milk contains lactose and casein, which become harder to digest with age. Many people develop intolerance without realizing it. This causes bloating, gas, reflux, and alters the gut microbiota. Also, milk can increase mucus production and hinder digestion of other foods. And caffeine, while fasting, does it also bring risks? Yes. Caffeine consumed on an empty stomach stimulates gastric acid production. This causes heartburn, discomfort, irritability, and increased cortisol, the stress hormone. In the elderly, this can affect mood, sleep, and even blood pressure. And when sugar or sweeteners are added, does the situation get worse? Without a doubt, sugar quickly raises blood glucose, causing the known rebound effect. Quick energy followed by a sharp drop. Artificial sweeteners confuse metabolism, increase sweet cravings, and disrupt gut flora. Both are harmful, especially in the morning. Many people say they can't start the day without coffee with milk. How to get around this? The first step is understanding it's more of a habit than a necessity. The palate can be retrained. I suggest starting the day with warm water and lemon or a digestive tea. If you want to keep coffee, drink it black after the first meal, and always in moderation. What about milk?
Is there a less aggressive version for the body?
Yes. Unsweetened plant milks like almond, coconut, or cashew, or lighter and don't cause the same problems as lactose. Still, ideally don't start the day with milk, but with foods that promote cleansing and metabolic activation. So, the coffee with milk and sugar combo early in the day is like dropping a bomb.
On the digestive system,
That metaphor is strong but true. It's an inflammatory, acidifying, and metabolism-disrupting stimulant. It may seem harmless, but in the aging body, every choice matters, and this one, especially, comes with a high long-term cost. It's interesting to realize the effects aren't immediate, but quietly accumulate over years. Exactly. Many of my patients reported improvements in digestion, mood, and even sleep, just by stopping coffee with milk in the morning. The body clearly thanks when we stop harming it first thing. Okay, we close our list with a food many believe is fitness: industrialized breakfast cereals and ready-made granolas. They come in the most colorful packages and are sold as healthy options, but you warn they're villains because they are highly industrialized products, rich in sugar, glucose syrup, refined vegetable oils, colorants, and preservatives. Even those labeled whole grain contain large amounts of simple carbs that cause glucose spikes, intestinal inflammation, and metabolic deregulation. Even sugar-free granolas can be problematic. Yes, many use artificial sweeteners or have ingredients like honey, demerit sugar, or corn syrup, which, although they seem natural, are still concentrated sugars. Also, the presence of oxidized oils and extruded cereals affects intestinal health. What impact does this have on the health of those over 60? These foods cause energy swings, irritate the gut, deregulate appetite, and favor abdominal fat in elderly people who already have a slower metabolism and more vulnerable gut. This can lead to constipation, chronic inflammation, and even cognitive decline. It's impressive how something sold as healthy can be so harmful. This is one of the biggest problems of the food industry, turning ultra-processed products into health symbols. Shelf granola often has more sugar than a filled cookie, and many consume it thinking they're taking care of their health. We recommend as a substitute for these industrialized granolas, homemade granola made with rolled oats, seeds, nuts, and unsweetened dried fruits, baked at home with total control over ingredients or even raw mix of these elements. No baking needed, natural, functional, and nutritious. And can this mix be combined with fruits in natural yogurt? Yes, this is one of the best combos: full-fat unsweetened yogurt, a spoonful of homemade granola, and low-glycemic fruits. This meal offers satiety, fiber, good fats, and antioxidants, everything the body needs in the morning. So the message is, avoid label promises and go for real food. Exactly. Real, simple, and conscious food. The fewer ingredients on the label, the better. And if you can prepare it at home, even better. Health doesn't come from packages. It comes from daily choices made with intention, and if you want to keep receiving the best videos for your health, Subscribe to the channel because it exists for only one reason: to make you a healthier person with more quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video appearing now on your screen, I reveal how oats can turn into
Poison on your plate? Click the screen and check it out.